Pope Francis, who challenged norms and made it his life's mission to change the perception of the Catholic Church, has died.
He delivered an Easter message to the faithful yesterday for what would be the final time.
Cari fratelli e sorelle, buona Pasqua.
Born in December in 1936 in Buenos Aires, Argentina, he later became the 266th Pope and the first from the Americas. The pontiff was released from the hospital last month after his battle with double pneumonia. The Vatican says he died of a stroke, but that put him in a coma and led to heart failure. In his will, the Pope said he wants to be buried in St. Mary Major Basilica in Rome in a simple underground tomb.
Tonight, the faithful are mourning his death, and here at home, church leaders in Midtown put up bunting in Francis's honor. From New York to the Vatican, we have team coverage tonight on the death of Pope Francis. We begin at 5 with Tony Aiello, who delves into the pontiff's life and legacy.
Fratelli e sorelle.
Brothers and sisters,
Buonasera.
Good evening.
A sea of faithful greeted Pope Francis when he emerged on the central balcony of St. Peter's Basilica in 2013. Francis succeeded Benedict XVI, the first pope in centuries to resign. Taking a page from his namesake, St. Francis of Assisi, he often wore simple garments and lived in a small apartment rather than the apostolic palace.
Faith brings us the light that scatters the darkness.
Francis was 76 when he became the first South American pope, the first from the Jesuit order, and the first non-European pope in more than 1,000 years. Born in Argentina in 1936, Jorge Bergoglio became a priest in 1969 and Archbishop of Buenos Aires in 1998. He earned another nickname there, the Bishop of the Slums, and preached in the poorest neighborhoods.
There are many unjust situations, but we know that God is suffering with us.
Francis championed service and kindness in his time as Pope. He washed prisoners' feet, spoke up for refugees and migrants, and offered a conciliatory message for the LGBTQ community.
If a person is gay and accepts the Lord and has goodwill, who am I to judge them?
In 2015, Pope Francis made his first visit to the U.S. A crowd joined then-President Obama to greet the Pope as he took his first steps on U.S. soil. The trip would take him to New York and Philadelphia, but while visiting Washington, he achieved a milestone.
I am most grateful for your invitation to address this joint session of Congress.
On a 2016 trip to Mexico, the Pope celebrated Mass before 200,000 people in Juarez, 50 yards from the U.S. border. He offered a message of hope to migrants seeking a better life, saying, "We cannot deny the humanitarian crisis." Early in his papacy, Francis tackled another big issue for the Church, assembling a panel of experts to advise him on church sex abuse. This was followed by the first global summit on preventing church abuse. He was the first sitting pope to preside over the funeral of a retired pontiff in church history. Later that year, 2023, he marked the 10th anniversary of his papacy, saying on a podcast, the best gift would be peace. In recent years, Francis, who had part of his lung removed when he was younger, battled a series of respiratory ailments. He also underwent abdominal surgery and faced knee problems. The Pope managed to overcome health issues to continue his work leading the Catholic Church. In February 2025, Francis spoke out against the second Trump administration's plans for mass deportations of migrants. Through political and social upheaval, Pope Francis sought to help the Church and its faithful grow and deal with change during rapidly changing times. In a 2024 interview with Norah O'Donnell on 60 Minutes, he spoke about how he was able to hold on to hope and optimism.
When you look at the world, what gives you hope?
Everything. You see tragedies, but you also see so many beautiful things.
And just moments ago, the Vatican sealed the papal apartment. Now, this is a customary step taken when a pope dies. It signifies the symbolic end of the pontificate.
Tonight at the White House, flags are flying at half-staff in tribute to Pope Francis.
And we can tell you President Trump said on social media today that he and the First Lady will be going to the Pope's funeral in Rome on Sunday. The president said he signed an executive order to lower all federal and state flags in his honor.
He was a good man, worked hard. He loved the world, and it's an honor to do that.
One of the Pope's last meetings before his death was with Vice President J.D. Vance on Easter morning. On social media today, Vance paid tribute to the pontiff. Vance said he would always remember Francis for a homily he delivered in the early days of the COVID pandemic that Vance called really quite beautiful.
In the Pope's native Argentina, Francis was remembered at the church where he began his spiritual journey to serve as a priest.
Elsewhere, bells rang out in churches as word spread about his passing. And on social media, Argentina's president posted a message offering condolences. In our area are gathering to remember the people's Pope.
We've seen people coming in and out of St. Patrick's today offering prayers, mourning. They've been doing that all day long, and Alan Devlin is live in Midtown with more on that reaction. Alan.
Yeah, Jess and Dick, I've had the opportunity to speak with many of those people out here on Fifth Avenue. It's been an emotional day around the world, including, like you said, right outside of St. Patrick's Cathedral. The diversity of the people going in and out only matched by the emotions. They're all connected in the death of Pope Francis.
He was truly a man of the Lord. I hope that we can all have that same heart as we go forth.
Heavy hearts and large crowds here at St. Patrick's Cathedral. Thousands of New Yorkers walking through the doors of the church to pay their respects after the passing of Pope Francis.
It was all of us in mourning and ready to hear the message that they were delivering in the cathedral.
It's like losing a family member. We've been so close to him all through these years, and we feel empty.
The Vatican announced the death of Pope Francis early Monday morning from a cerebral stroke and irreversible heart failure. Hours later, parishioners gathered at St. Patrick's with the Pope's picture framed front and center. Cardinal Timothy Dolan.
We're convinced that even though Pope Francis has passed over from this life to the next, he still lives. He still lives.
I thought it was only appropriate to get to Mass here today and say some prayers for him and hope that his soul rests in peace.
He was the leader of the Catholic Church for 12 years and touched millions of lives. Even in his death, his presence still strong here on Fifth Avenue.
We are all sinners here, and to be better is what he would have wanted. It's what God wants from all of us all the time.
And the doors of the church here at St. Patrick's are open as we await just about 23 minutes until the next evening Mass is set to begin here. I will be live out here for the rest of the evening outside of the cathedral, bringing you much more from the many people coming here to show their respects in the loss of Pope St. Francis. For now, we are live here in Midtown. Alan Devlin, CBS News, New York.
And many more surely to come throughout the night. Alan, thank you. The Catholic Church has begun a 9-day mourning period for Pope Francis. The faithful packed St. Peter's Square tonight to pray.
It's the Vatican's first public commemoration following the Pope's death. Tina Kraus joins us live from Rome. Tina, thanks for joining us. Can you, if you can, describe what it's like right now? We know what's going on here in St. Patrick's in New York. What is it like for people mourning the Pope near St. Peter's?
People here are just in a bit of disbelief. Earlier tonight, now it's really died down. There are people milling around here in St. Peter's Square, but earlier tonight, the faithful were out there standing in the same spot where just a day before Pope Francis had come to give an Easter greeting to them, to take another ride in his Pope Mobile, which ended up being his last ride. So despite the health concerns and despite what the Pope went through, more than a month in the hospital, battling double pneumonia, nearly fatal. Now that he has passed, a lot of people still just can't believe he's really gone.
Surreal to think that he was just there 24 hours ago and now he's no longer with us. Tina, where does the Pope's body go now? What are the next steps in this mourning process?
Right, so the next steps are that the Pope's body is being brought here to St. Peter's Basilica. That is where it will lie in state, we believe, possibly as soon as Wednesday, although we will get confirmation on that tomorrow. When his body is here in the casket in St. Peter's Basilica, we expect hundreds of thousands of people to attend. I talked to a Vatican analyst who's been covering the Pope here for more than 20 years earlier tonight, and he said he remembered the crowds back in 2005 when Pope John Paul II passed away, and it went stretched clear down to the river. He said he doesn't know what it'll be like now, but it'll be very interesting to see how this Pope, who was revered and so loved for his dedication to the people and the simplicity that he brought in his breaking with traditions, it will be really something to see people come here to remember him.
And you know, Tina, St. Peter's Basilica, that court area there is just one of the most beautiful and really joyous places in the world. If you're a tourist and you come in there, these people were there just a few days ago. Now it has changed so differently. Do you expect the crowd, even you're there, I guess it's about 11:30 now at night there. Is there a crowd gathering there now?
Not now, although, I mean, well, actually, you know what? They have. Just in the last 30 minutes or so, I see dozens of people down there. But when we arrived earlier tonight, really, there were still big crowds down there. Everyone just wanting to be close, looking up to that same papal window where the Pope was just giving an Easter greeting, you know, waving to people still. You know, he looked like he was suffering, and certainly we now know he was, as doctors confirmed tonight that he died, you know, from a stroke and from a coma and this cardiovascular collapse. He certainly was suffering, but one of the analysts I was talking to said tonight, you know, maybe the Pope knew that his time was coming to an end, and he really wanted to go out with a bang and show people, here I am, and love them until he had to go.
Being true to himself to the very last moment of his life. Tina Kraus, thank you so much for the insight tonight.
Thank you, Tina. And our Tony Aiello is headed to Rome. Look for his live reports in the coming days.
We have much more coverage ahead here at 5 o'clock, including a centuries-old tradition that will soon get underway as the Catholic Church prepares to select a new pope. Who are the cardinals quietly being discussed behind closed doors?
Plus, cheers, tears, and blessings that changed lives. We revisit Pope Francis's unforgettable visit to New York and the moments that left a lasting impact on so many people.